We're going to begin with a session that helps us not just address today's challenges, but also understand and bank on tomorrow's opportunities. The future of real estate, my dear friends, is not just about technology, market, and finance. It is equally about how we prepare the next generation of professionals, of leaders, of visionaries who are going to carry business forward. So our theme for this morning, I think, is very timely. It's also very critical. It is the future of real estate education. Now, joining us for this conversation is our moderator. Let's welcome our moderator, Professor Prashant Das, who is Chairperson of Finance and Accounting and Associate Professor of Real Estate at IIM Ahmedabad, author of 30+ research papers, 15 cases, 3 books. He's won 12 Global Research Awards, 2 Teaching Excellence Awards, and multiple Best Paper accolades. Now, his expertise spans over private equity, REITs, MBS, hotels, and sustainability. Very, very warm welcome, Professor. Thank you so much for joining us. And let's welcome Dr. Bing Wong, a senior lecturer at MIT Sloan School of Management, specializing in innovation, value creation, urban transformation in emerging markets, an award-winning scholar, author of 5 books, 40+ publications. She has advised governments, the World Bank, IFC, McKinsey, co-founder of Leong Group and Yongyu Investments. She's overseen $1.1 billion plus in assets. Let's give a very warm welcome, everyone, to Dr. Wong. Welcome, ma'am. Also joining us on this panel is Professor Joseph Wee, a professor of real estate at NUS Business School and co-director of the Institute of Real Estate and Urban Studies. With over 3 decades of experience, he has trained developers, investors, government agencies. He leads the Executive Certificate in Real Estate Finance. His award-winning research has been published in leading journals, and we are so happy that you were able to join us, sir. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And let's welcome our next panelist, Professor Roland. Is full professor of real estate finance at the University of St. Gallen and serves on the executive board of its Swiss Institute of Banking and Finance. He is academic director of the globally top-ranked Master of Banking and Finance program and also a faculty member of the Swiss Finance Institute. Now, his research spans real estate, finance, asset pricing, risk management. Let's give a warm round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Professor Roland. Welcome, sir. So this is what we call a power pack panel, and Professor Das, over to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, buildings rise and fall, markets boom and bust, but knowledge once built compounds forever. And that's why it's so exciting to be here. At NATCON, a stage that dazzles us with thought leaders from sport, cinema, and politics. But you know what? Aristotle once said that the roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet. In other words, this panel sits between you and our star cricketer. Education in real estate, it's deeply commendable and telling that CREDAI's leadership has carved out a prime space in the agenda for this conference. Last year, the very first Red L program from IIMA Ahmedabad began, and some of those pioneer alumni are here in the crowd. If you could please join your hands together for the pioneer crowd. Thank you. And many of you have already attended a very nice program at IIM Bangalore. Education is the most scalable asset we have, which will outlast market cycles and help us build cities worthy of a Viksit Bharat. So let us hear from you. If you put 4 professors on stage, be ready for quizzes. So if I could request you all to pull up your mobile phones, please pull out your mobile phones, and on your browser, please go to menti.com. So can we please have that slide, the quiz slide flash there? Thank you. Please go to menti.com. It'll ask you for a use code. And the use code is 47212039. It's flashing on the screen. I want all of us to be ready. It's on the screen. It's 47212039. I see nearly 100 people are already in the room who have joined. Okay, are we ready for the quiz? Let's do it. The region where I wish to build my next project, just click on the map. You see, CREDAI represents India. This is all of India. Okay. If I had one word to describe real estate developer, what would it be? Rockstar. I like it. Creator of dreams. Growth. Nation builder. Patience. Money management. Courageous. Master of all trades. Trust. Money management. Aspirational. Passion. Hustler. Building your dream. Creator, visionary, nation builder. You see, there is convergence in how we look at this profession, a very noble profession of nation building, a profession that starts with something called a piece of dust, literally. That is a land parcel, which may at the beginning look like your dump yard, but it ends up becoming something as superb as the kind of buildings we build. So here is my next question for you. What is my educational background? Now let's focus on the second row. The middle option, real estate. So we are a bunch of very smart real estate people, and look at the representation of real estate education from our educational pool. Do you feel that we have a gap in our country? Do you feel that our educational domain is not serving our industry adequately? This is what the tone of today's discussion is going to be about. But before that, let's answer one more question. Which competencies you think are the most important for the success of your business? So the most important will come at the top. There's so many things and they're all important, right? There's no clear winner here. And imagine how much of your educational background has prepared you for all of these competencies. All the architects and chartered accountants and finance people in the room. How much service has your educational background done to help you build all these competencies? How much you have learned by making mistakes? Could you have afforded to make mistakes for a very long term? Or could a real estate program that was tailor-made to your needs could have helped you prepare yourself right from the beginning? So without much ado, I'm now turning to my panelists. Bing, let me start with you. You were running programs at Harvard in the past. Now you are with MIT. Universities in the US treat real estate as both finance, tech, and urban innovation. And most of the programs that we're flashing here do not adequately take care of all those aspects. So first, tell us about the programs at these Ivy League schools. And if you could also throw some light on what real estate programs do at other universities in the US.
Thank you, Prashant. First, I'm very happy to be here. And also, even though I'm currently at MIT, I'm still heading to flagship real estate executive education at Harvard, Harvard Business School and Harvard Design School. In fact, I have two stellar students from Harvard Business School executive educations in the crowd. So, I mean, it's so wonderful to see them here. So, real estate is both multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary in nature. As what has been shown, it covers a broad spectrum of knowledge domain, including finance, economics, design and planning, law, urban studies, among others. Therefore, in the United States, academic real estate programs are institutionally diverse. What do I mean? Some of the real estate programs are housed in business schools, and some of them are housed in design and planning schools. For example, at Harvard, that HBS, Harvard Business School, the previous dean of the business school decided they do not want a real estate program to be housed in business school. The reason is they want to focus on a general MBA education. They do not want to select any single sector to focus on. If it's real estate, then how about technology, right? How about other kind of a field? So therefore, at Harvard, real estate academic program is housed within Harvard Design School, and it's only for graduate students, and we do not, have education programs for bachelor degree students. And at MIT, similarly, the real estate program is not housed in Sloan School of Business, Sloan School of Management. It is under the planning school. However, though, if you look at other Ivy League schools, for example, at Columbia University, interestingly, they have two real estate programs. One is within business school, and the other is within, design school. So they offer MBA with real estate concentration, and the one at the design school offers Master of Science in Real Estate. And the next one is a well-known is Wharton, business school, Wharton Business School at University of Pennsylvania, and that is a much more comprehensive real estate program. The reason I say it is because it offers bachelor, degree in bachelor degree with concentration in real estate, and a master degree with concentration in real estate, and also MBA degree, with concentration in real estate. So it has the full spectrum of different degrees and being offered. And that's at, UPenn, Wharton School of Business. And then there is also Cornell. Cornell is a different story, and they have two schools that has the focus on real estate. One is their well-known School of Hospitality. And so real estate within School of Hospitality focus mostly on hospitality real estate, hotel real estate. And then they also have, a Baker program that's also related to design school. So these, a couple of examples that within Ivy League schools, as you see that organizational structure is all over the map. And there are also well-regarded academic real estate programs that's outside of Ivy League schools. For example, University of Wisconsin, Madison, that's a very well-known real estate program. And for them, they focus more on the urban economics. That's the traditional kind of real estate lineage. So it's a department of real estate and urban economics. And they offer a spectrum of bachelor, master, PhD degrees in real estate. And then there is a University of Southern California. And similarly, not only they offer the full spectrum of real estate, programs for various degrees, they also have, part-time students. And these are not executive education, but part-time students, and they can be on campus to study real estate. So just from that kind of, a few examples, it is obviously there is all different ranges, all over the map in terms of how they position real estate. And that reflects the faceted nature of real estate.
Thanks, Ping. When I moved to India 5 years ago as a real estate academic, it was very lonely for me because it was very difficult for me to find company of professors who specialize in real estate. And thanks to the CREDAI group, that is changing. The appetite for real estate education is evolving in India. And as you rightly said, both from the College of Design and Architecture and Planning, as well as business school, has shown appetite for real estate programs. Joseph, let's shift to Asia. You have been running one of the world's largest real estate programs. And Singapore has benefited from that, and many parts of the world. So today, Singapore's housing model is admired worldwide. But was it always this way? Because we heard that Singapore has learned from its mistakes. Education has played a lot of role in it. How has real estate education evolved in Singapore over the decades?
Thank you. The education of real estate in Singapore has parallels the nation building in Singapore as well. Today, the business school where the NUS Department of Real Estate resides is celebrating its 60th anniversary. Singapore today is also celebrating its 60th anniversary. So very much when we started the program, we had a 4-year undergraduate program focusing primarily in the early days on land surveying, valuers, very much on estate management, building up the nation. One of the primary key goals was to prepare professionals, educate professionals to help a young country solve some of the urban development problems, primarily the housing crisis. Some of you all may know or may not know this, but Singapore's, since 1959, we have self-ruling, and 1965 was our independence. From then till today, we only have one political party in charge of ruling the country, and that's PAP. And one of the manifesto legitimacy of the government has been, from day one, was to solve the housing crisis. Okay, so what they have done was immediately after that, they will create a government agency called the Housing Development Board, and that mandate was to build housing to solve the housing crisis. Because if we can't solve the housing crisis, there are other problems that that needed the housing to be solved. For example, clearance of urban slums in the urban area. You needed housing first so that you can remove the rest, unlock the rest. And education has played a part. And as the country developed, so we have a 4 years undergraduate program in BSc Real Estate, Estate Management. It was renamed later on as Real Estate. And we started a master's program. We have a very strong master's program since the 1990s. I was one of the pioneer batch of the MSc Real Estate program as well. And the beauty of the MSc Real Estate program is that we had models of Singapore that has worked, and there were a lot of interest in wanting to learn from Singapore. So our students for the MSc program is really very well diversified from different countries. I think that's the beauty of the program. We have about 60 students coming every year for the MSc one-year program, and we are likely to expand that more to a second intake for that one as well. Finally, we have an executive program. Executive program, parallel with what happens in the recent year, is that the real estate department has moved from the School of Design and Environment. We have moved to the business school, and this parallels the development in real estate as well. Today is not just about building developments, but it's also about very much about with the evolution of the real estate into the capital markets with real estate investment trusts, private equity funds. You will see the real estate asset is also very financialized now. So that's why it's appropriate that real estate is now parked in the business school. So we have executive courses. Our masters teach a lot of the bridging of the real estate and finance as well. So that's what we have.
So the overall trend is that real estate programs are gradually shifting from the College of Architecture and Design to business school, despite the fact that we cannot discount the role that architecture colleges and design colleges play in grooming real estate developers. But the trend, as I hear from both of you, is shifting towards business school. That's a wonderful news for me because I work at a business school. But I would not discard the importance of architecture colleges and design colleges. Roland, let's talk about Switzerland, a land of our dreams in India. I mean, so many Bollywood movies have been shot not very far from your university. And we will talk about regulation because our response to regulation as a real estate developer community has been a mixed bag. Sometimes we love it, sometimes we despise it. Both Switzerland and Germany that you would represent are tightly regulated real estate markets, but they're very different from each other. I mean, Switzerland would have local zoning, Germany has federal law, state codes, and municipal plans. Regulation in India is evolving and it's in a good direction. But how should real estate developers interface with regulation as consumers or as co-creators? Shekhar Bhai is here.
Yeah. First of all, thank you very much for your invitation. It's really great. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a nice conference. I enjoyed it very much yesterday. You have really great minds. It was amazing. So thank you very much for being here. Yeah, how should they interact with the regulators? We have a strong regulation. I mean, if we talk about regulation, we have different dimensions, right? So we have a strong regulation in the German-speaking area in Europe because we have a low home ownership rate. That means we have a strong tenancy law. And from there, we have several other regulations. So that makes it a little bit tough for developers. But what we see is, in particular in Switzerland, we have several initiations coming from the industry. And that's very important when you say co-creators, I would say pioneers. It's more important to lead the process. And so we have several initiatives. So we have REMS, that's a real estate meta-analysis and monitoring.
I will reject you here, Roland, but the message is very strong that real estate developers must not be consumers of regulation, they must be pioneers of regulation. It's very important for us to note.
Yeah, to intervene, right? And to lead the process. Because, I mean, there are challenges, right? We know there's the climate risk. We have to cooperate with urban planners because otherwise it would not work, right? So and when we talk about ESG, it's also important that we lead the process, because if we give this up to the government, to the regulator, then we are overwhelmed with regulation. So we should make clear how the process would be run efficiently, effectively, and so on. So that's very important. What we are doing is what I mentioned before. We have several initiatives. So these are non-profit entities. These are associations created from the industry. We have a CO2 benchmarking. That's very important because the companies, they benchmark each others. They see where they stand in comparison to their competitors. We have REMS, that's a real estate meta-analysis and monitoring on sustainability. What we are doing is we monitor the whole housing market and the real estate market in Switzerland. So why? Because then we get an idea, so where do we have to invest? Where do we need some more efforts? And so on. So then we are really in the lead and we can tell the government, here we need some subsidies, there we don't need, and so we can control the process. I think that's very important. So I think it's more than a co-creator. I think it's really to be a pioneer. And if we talk about a co-creator, if we think about, as I said, urban planning, developing, if we think about, the needs today, so where do we see, in which segment do we see the demand, right? It's not in the luxury segment. We need, in medium quality housing, there's a huge demand. It's also locally, right? We see a high demand in agglomerations in the big cities, but not so much in rural areas. And so that's very important to co-create, but also pioneer the process. Yeah.
Roland, in this classroom, I hear a lot of backbenchers talking with each other. So now it is time for you to grab their attention. We have heard from the developer community on what they think is the most important competency. Now, very quickly, I would like to hear from all three of you. If you had to select 3 most essential courses for real estate development, what would they be? Roland, shall we start with you?
So I would offer a course in lobbying 1 to 3.
Love.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So, no, what I think is important is AI and digital real estate. I mean, we all know it's very topical, but I think that the real estate industry is always lagging a little bit. It's slow developing. Now we have a big chance to head the process. And we have a huge amount of opportunities to use AI. So I'm also at the advisory board of several prop tech firms and startups. It's amazing what they are providing in transaction management, in developing, and so on. So AI is really important. Secondly, I think ESG. So some of you would say ESG is dead, or it's too much administration work. It's time consuming and so on. But it changed. I think ESG is still a topic. I think we here in the room, but also the developers in Switzerland and around the world, everywhere around the world, they know what they have to do now, and to reach the goal in 2050. So I think that's also important. And thirdly, I think what we also offer in our programs to our students, also at the bachelor level, negotiation. I think for real estate guys, for the real estate industry, it's an important qualification to have knowledge in negotiation.
So AI, prop tech, ESG, and negotiation. And lobbying is the subtle thing that they should be learning anyhow. Bing, what is your view on this?
So my view, I think for future real estate education, number 1 would be capital markets. And real estate is a capital intensive sector. And you do have to have money in order to realize the product.
Thank you, Bing. That's music to my ears.
So therefore, to understand who are the major players of capital markets and what's the rationale for them to invest and how you can present, your project to them and has the flexibility to structure different, deals that fits your purpose. So I think capital markets is important. And the second priority I would give to technology. And technology, especially that, some of the technology can take place of some of the existing courses.
So are we talking about construction technology or AI?
I'm talking about AI-led technology that penetrating all different aspects of real estate. And I, hopefully I will have opportunity to talk about it later. So understanding AI is replacing some of the traditional real estate courses, even the skills. So only by understanding the technology, we can see where the efficiency would come from, if you deal with real estate. So that's the second course. The third one would be design, physical design and planning, because no matter how good you are in dealing with the process, in engaging your stakeholder, by the end of the day, what you present is still your final product, how good your final product is. And more importantly, real estate is not a final product for 1 day, 1 year, 2 years. It's a final product easily for 50 years. So if you look at our environment, cities, right? That's the layers of our collective memory, which was represented by real estate.
Right. So once you have built something, you can't unbuild it.
Exactly.
So design is important. Joseph, can I move on to you on this?
The beauty of the last in this panel is that whatever they say, I agree to. If I may just summarize, I will do a summary and then I'll add on to that. Firstly, we cannot do away with the fundamentals, which is valuation, design, building. So those are traditional law, urban planning. So those things will still stay as very important. If you ask me about moving ahead, what are the addition? I would put it as 3. I think they have been covered. I call it as F, S, and T. F stands for finance. Developers needs to know, do their sums. I think that is important because at the end of the day, developers are entrepreneur, businessmen. You need to know your sums. That's the first thing, finance. Secondly, is about sustainability. Increasingly, it becomes, if you want to be a global player, you want to attract capitals, tenants, the sustainability will be a key factor. And T is the technology, primarily linked to AI itself. I just had a session with CapitaLand, invited the asset manager to speak to my students this week. And he was saying that they were driving through so much of the AI that their asset managers, what has happened is that with the digital innovation is that they have released the asset manager, 80% of the reports that the asset manager do in terms of the performance of the buildings are now AI driven. So only 20% human input. But does that mean that AI will replace asset managers? He said no. What it means is that their asset manager now have more free time to do what is most important for an asset manager, which is basically go down to the asset and manage the assets instead of writing reports. Okay? So I think that's the 3 things. But underlying this, just now Roland talked about negotiation, Pink talked about design. At the end of the day, real estate is about people. All right, a good building, a good development is only successful if you are able to attract people to your building, want to use it. All right, it translates to cash flows. We call it placemaking or whatever. So ultimately, any courses that deals with development is not just the fundamentals of real estate, the finance, the sustainability, the technology, but they need to understand people.
Thanks, Joseph. We asked you for 3, you gave us 4. FSTP, Finance, Sustainability, Technology, and Placemaking. That also stands for people. Backstage, can we have the quiz back, please? So let's hear from you now. Please go back to mentee.com and let's hear from you. Tell us how adequately you feel you know about these topics. And you can be honest, there's no grading here. So left-hand side means you do not feel very confident. Right-hand side means you feel very, very confident. And ladies and gentlemen, these questions are not pre-staged. And there's a strong correlation between what our experts have suggested as what we should know. And this is a reflection of where we think there is a gap in our knowledge. So blockchain and tokenization, including AI, is technology where we feel that we have a lot of gap to fill. Mortgage-backed securities is new to India, but in general, the awareness about the products that we have in India is not very high. REITs, we have made some strides. SM REITs is still not very well understood product, although it's going to be a very promising product for real estate developers. So we get a lot of fodder for designing an educational program. I have this next question for you, ladies and gentlemen. How much do you agree with these statements? These are some common internal emotional struggles that many developers in India are going through. These are some of the fears that they are very afraid to face. And we need educational programs that prepare us for this. And as you can clearly see, there is gap on the right-hand side in most of these fronts. There are many developers in India who are working in very, very diverse set of projects, but there are many emerging types of real estate projects that require very specialized understanding. Okay, let's get back to our panelists. Roland, let me start with you. Developers are always interested in using and facilitating funding vehicles. What should we learn from the opportunities and challenges in Europe? I mean, how can us, real estate developers in India, prepare to be attractive to European funds? We always want money.
Yeah, first of all, when we talk about real estate funds, we have different types in Europe. For instance, in Germany, they are not exchange listed, so you have a redemption at the end of the day or in a certain time. Whereas in Switzerland, we have on the exchange, we have real estate funds, so the liquidity is higher. You must also know that Swiss people treat real estate funds like bonds, so they're pretty interesting in the dividend payments. That has also some challenges when we talk about capex, because if you have high capex, you have less dividends. That's what our investors do not like. So that means when we come back to ESG, for instance, and you have to invest heavily, and that's very, very difficult in Switzerland because we have a lot of old buildings. So they are protected, we cannot destroy them. So that means there needs more efforts, more investments. And for sure, there's also more regulation, which in turn makes it more expensive. But at the end of the day, so if you spend more on green capex, there's less to distribute, right, to the shareholders, and that's a big challenge. Overall, I would say funds are very attractive for Swiss investors, more than real estate companies. So we have, to a less extent, real estate companies. We do not have REITs. That has something to do with the taxation, because we all know REITs are only taxed on the investor level. So funds, real estate companies in Switzerland are double taxed on the company level as well as in the investor level. So I think that's very important to see the differentiation. So I've heard yesterday that you have a white paper on REITs. I think that's very attractive for foreign investors. Why? Because they are highly regulated, and it's all about governance, transparency for foreign investors. So, but also ESG, so that you are confirmed with the standards related to ESG, but also to accounting standards, international accounting standard. That makes it all attractive for foreign investors. And I think if you fulfill these criteria, you will also see international investors. I think that's the important.
Yeah. So in residential space in India, REITs are still not very feasible, and a large part of our audience here is residential developer. But as I hear you, if we focus on ESG, sustainability, still make it profitable, then through fund structure, we can attract European capital.
Yeah, I think it's important that you show the investors not not only your project, right? They don't want to for sure they don't want to know in which project you invest, but it's also important to tell them for whom, right? And what are the aims? So I mean, we are talking a lot about energy efficiency, but also the social impact. And we have heard yesterday from the panel, right? So impact investing is very important. So you should also tell them and at a very early stage, take them on board, investors, so that they learn about the project and also the impact, the social impact. But as I said, also on a vehicle level, so in the investment vehicle level, it's important to think about the governance.
So if us as real estate developers from India are looking for foreign funding, it's not just the product that matters. If I hear you correctly, there has to be a story behind it. You have to have a philosophy, and they are investing more in those philosophies, and there are certain themes that they are looking for, and we have to position ourselves for those themes. Bing, how do we bring money from the US to these developers?
So if I can just continue, in terms of residential development for REITs, I think this is not just an issue for India, it's for overall emerging markets. For a lot of emerging markets, residential is for sale, not for rent. I believe there isn't adequate rental markets in India. That's, again, it's emerging markets, not just India, in almost every single emerging markets, because REITs is based on the income producing properties. And if it's residential for sale, it's not for rental, you don't have adequate income being produced to support your REITs. And that's one of the situation. And the yield from the rental in Indian market, just as all other emerging markets, is very low to be attractive to the institutional investors, including REITs. So therefore, that's a process. Only one day that there is an adequate rental market and the yield is attractive. And to me, I think there is some kind of correlation. A country needs to go through certain urbanization trend, and then you would have adequate rental markets that supports REITs. So therefore, for residential development, your aim, in order to attract funds, your aim is not REITs. REITs is not necessarily your best bet, because the market has not been mature enough to generate the attractive yields. Your bets would be private equity and other type of funds to support.
For residential development.
Exactly.
I have been talking to my friends at SEBI, and they have launched this product called SM REIT. And I saw that our awareness about SM REIT is relatively limited. The idea of SM REIT is to allow launching commercial projects with high yields, which could attract institutional foreign money, both from private equity funds as well as other types of sources of funds. And Joseph, when we talk about REITs, there's no discussion without Joseph Wee. Outside of the US, if I see research on REITs anywhere, it's in Singapore. And you have been a leader in this domain. We are making strides in this space too. In what ways do you include REITs in your curriculum?
Yeah, my career has grown parallel to the REIT as well. When I finished my PhD in corporate finance, real estate, REIT was just, legislation was just being introduced in Singapore. I think one of the first sponsors that tried to do a REIT, they failed. And then I still remember we had a lunch conversation with the CEO. He said, we failed because people wasn't aware about what is REIT about. So that was where NUS came in. We have a campaign to educate the public about what REIT instrument is. And over the years, REIT is now core to our undergraduate program, to our master's program. We also started an executive course arising from the real estate and the capital markets interactions. So we started the executive course in 2011, and it has been a very strong program, bringing the bankers into the classroom, bringing the real estate guys into the classroom as well. So I think that's how we have embedded REITs into it. Thank you.
Bing, India still depends heavily on manual construction. In the US, universities are experimenting with digital twins, robotics, AI in development. How did American developers start adopting such technologies? I mean, what were the barriers?
That's a very good question. For digital twins, robotics, and AI, they have not been brought into real estate classroom in the United States either. But that being said, that in practice, we have already seen the emergent trends. And digital twin, robotics, and AI have been in education, mostly resides in design school and planning school. So I would say that in terms of these technology, that real estate has been relatively lagging behind. What we see, or what I see, is in terms of, let's say, digital twins, we see its application more in terms of construction management. And we also see that as, Internet of Things, sensors, to track people's behaviors, especially in office sectors. We see that these days, sensors, IoT, Internet of Things, sensors being used in understanding how people use office space, how people use retail space. And for residential, that some of the developers especially in New York City, they have been using these sensors to understand the usage of electricity, the usage of water, and also the behavior patterns of the residents. And so that has been what we have seen. In terms of robotics, and what I have seen actually more in China in terms of robotics in construction, there's a brick laying and the more dangerous, time-consuming tasks being conducted by robots by Chinese developers. I have not been aware that that has been, applied in residential or office developers in the United States. But that being said, one thing that we see in both countries is modular construction, both in the United States, where labor is expensive, and in China, where labor is actually, relatively cheaper. But we do see modular construction has been, on the rise as a trend.
Yeah, I mean, we have so many questions and there is so much expertise on the stage here, but the clock is ticking. Some of the themes that we have come up with in today's session are almost unequivocal. When we are investing, we need a story, and that story needs to be grounded in ESG, in people. When we are seeking funding, we have to be innovative with our venture structuring. We have to look at different types of entities that can be set up. And we need not emulate one specific academic model. There's so many best practices across the world, and we have to garner bits and pieces from different parts of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to give you the final word. If we can have the quiz back, and let's hear from you again. Looks like I messed up with my quiz. So, I will wrap up here. We have seen what kind of educational background we have got ourselves into this industry with. After this conversation, if you were given a second chance, do you think you would have picked something else? If if you think that you would like a second chance to build something else, can you please raise your hands? And I see a decent number of people realizing that there is a need for very specialized real estate education in India. Ladies and gentlemen, please join your hands together for our panelists. Let's wrap it up. The time is up. Thank you very much.
Couldn't have asked for a better conversation to kick off day 3 at CREDAI NATCON 2025. Requesting my panelists to please stay with me. I'd like to invite on stage Mr. M. Jayashankar of Brigade Group. Sir, please join us on stage. Let's do a quick check to see if he's in the room right now. Requesting you to please join us on stage and present a token of our gratitude to Professor Prashant Das. May we have that on stage, please? And ladies and gentlemen, let the applause keep coming. I'd like to invite Mr. Sandeep Runwal of the Runwal Group to please join us on stage and present a token of our gratitude to Dr. Bing Wong. Inviting Mr. Roy Peter and Mr. Suresh Krishan. Mr. Roy Peter and Mr. Suresh Krishan, please join us on stage. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Requesting you to present a token to Professor Joseph. And inviting Mr. W.S. Habib and Mr. Indrasena Reddy. Please join us to present a token of appreciation to Professor Roland. All right, Dr. Harshul Savla steps in here. Huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, our power panelists. We've officially begun by talking about the future of real estate education. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, everyone.